Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Just chanting these teachings on the Eightfold Path this evening, and just myself just appreciating such a complete sort of teaching to steer us away from unskillful things and steer us towards skillful things. A lot of very helpful tools there in the Buddha's teaching. And especially around the skill of looking after the mind. It's something maybe we weren't taught at school. We're more taught to fill our mind with lots of knowledge. But it is important to develop this skill, and one can relate it to looking after the mind like we look after a garden. If we have a garden, we want to take out those things that are not going to be good for the garden, and we want to promote those things that are going to be good for the garden. So we take out all the weeds and allow the more beautiful flowers to grow, the things that would make a nice garden. Well, of course, to do that, we have to know. We have to know what are weeds, what helps the garden, what doesn't help the garden, what will smother it and what will help it. So we read books first, don't we? Get pictures of what is helpful and good, and what is not so helpful. So that's why we have teachings. What promotes a good heart, a good mind, and what inhibits a good heart, a good mind. But of course, if we just read the books about it, then if you just read books about the garden and don't do the gardening, then it's not so helpful. But we read the books, then we apply ourselves to what we read. So this is like why we meditate. It's actually doing this work of looking into the heart and mind, seeing what is worth promoting and what is better to let go of, take out. And this is where these teachings, this takes an effort to cultivate this mindfulness and more calm states of mind, the concentration. And the tools that the Buddha offers us to cultivate, these qualities that support a healthy and happy mind. But of course, we have to, do the practice, not just read about it. So it's good coming to the monastery and spending time meditating together, actually doing the gardening. Yeah? I think one aspect I'd like just to reflect on this evening is about the practice of staying more in the present moment. And the mind's preoccupation with time, sometimes it doesn't lead to any sort of peacefulness and clarity. When the mind's just caught up in thinking about the past and the future. And living our life always sort of thinking about ahead or what's happened before. And in terms of freeing the heart from greed and hatred and delusion, what keeps these habits going is the way we think. And if we're always like something like greed, well, maybe something we've had in the past which we're craving for in the future. Ill will, something that's happened in the past that we're carrying around with a negative mind state, or thinking about getting revenge, harming in the future. Now these maybe are sort of thoughts that maybe we don't really want. But what is a little more sort of tricky to be aware of is more the anxious thoughts that take us into planning the future or worrying about the future, anxious about the future. And these thoughts are not bad, but if they're fueled by anxiety, it does tend to keep the anxiety going. So if we can come out of the thoughts about time in the future and come back in the present moment, this can be a very helpful tool to make us more aware of these habits. And also, when we're not following the thoughts that keep these habits going, this facilitates a letting go of some of these habits. So the more we can cultivate living more in the present moment, this is conducive towards a more peaceful and happy mind. Now, in that Eightfold Path, the Buddha, in the teachings on mindfulness, begins about mindfulness of the body. Now, with mindfulness of the body, when you're mindful of the body, you're in the present moment. When we're not mindful of the body, maybe we're not in the present moment. So, throughout the day, the more we can bring our awareness into the body, this will help us to make more moments of mindfulness throughout the day and strengthen this quality of mindfulness. And promote a more peacefulness. So this last year, I've done quite a bit of travelling and been through many airports. And over my time in the monastic life, and I have done a lot of practice of walking meditation, which is about just being more aware in the present moment of, walking, like legs moving, feet touching the earth, things like this. And when I go through airports, this is what I practice. Now, one thing I also emphasize, in the practice of walking meditation, it's not walking around looking at your feet. Of course, if you walk into an airport, you don't want to walk around looking at your feet, do you? But you can look ahead, keep your awareness ahead, but just as you walk along, you can feel your feet touching the earth and the legs moving, and then you're in the present moment. And then the benefits of that is it means that the quality of mind tends to be more peaceful in that situation with busyness around you. But also it's very helpful. Like, I don't know if these days, you can be walking behind somebody and they suddenly stop to look at their mobile phone. You walk along and oops, the mobile phone, and they stop. Now, if you're in the present moment, then you don't collide. You notice that, And then that's what it's like these days, people walking around looking at their mobile phones and things. And sometimes you have to maneuver around people with the mobiles and things. But it really does make the experience of airports a more, not an unpleasant experience. Is it interesting when you you go through the you go through the passport thing, and you go through the bag checks, and then you walk through, like, what I call the sensual realm. You go through all these shops, don't you? And it's not a direct path, it winds you through all these shops, going around all these things for sale, duty-frees and things. And again, not getting distracted by all that, just staying in the present moment, feeling your feet touching the earth. And it's not distracting. I mean, I do have the advantage of not having any money, so I can't buy anything anyway, but it's just that, many times a day we're walking between places, and maybe that's an opportunity just to come into the present moment, which is maybe a different experience than when our mind's just focused on where we're going. Okay, we know where we're going, but now can we be aware of the actual walking? You could say, knowing the goal, but how to enjoy the journey. Yeah. And there's also times in life where we have to queue up for things. Standing meditation. Stand and breathe in and out in the present moment. So, these opportunities when we are queuing for things, waiting for things, standing up, an opportunity to bring our awareness back to the present moment. I've never done a lot of standing meditation in my particular practice. I tend to either like sitting or walking. But I was recently teaching a day of meditation in Singapore, and the room was just full of people, and it was a room on the 3rd floor, and it was a day long of meditation. and nowhere to walk. So I thought, well, to lessen the physical suffering of having to sit, all day long, we did some standing meditation. And as people stand up and breathe standing up. Then I left Singapore and I went to Penang in Malaysia. And the immigration in Penang is not so efficient. And there was a very long queue. So I had to queue up for 1 hour. And I thought, now I've got to practice what I've been teaching. So, standing meditation for an hour. With a little bit of movement here and now, but it was all right, when you accept and use it as an opportunity. I did more sympathise with some of the older people that were in the queue, and in my thoughts wish them well. So just to try and bring up a few wholesome thoughts as well. Yes, it's, in situations how to bring up mindfulness and wisdom. Like, not expecting everything to be quick and efficient and on time. So on one occasion I was travelling from Manchester back to the monastery and got to Waterloo station where you catch the train to Petersfield. And there was a problem with the signals. So on the notice board it says long delays in the trains because of signal problems. Again, disappointment. Nice to get back to the monastery. But what do? Just stand and breathe. And I reflected too that why should everything go according to my wishes? It's not life, is it? To expect everything to be on time, to go the way you want it to, that's foolishness, isn't it? Yeah. So you think, well, why should things be on time? Just wait till the train comes. So I stood there, breathing in and out, reflecting like this. And this gentleman comes up to me. He's really angry and upset. A businessman, a suitcase, and he says to me something in the words like, "You might be peaceful with this, but I want to strangle somebody." I think that's, expecting when things don't go the way they want, angry and upset. That's foolishness, isn't it? To expect things always to go according to our wishes. And so he suffered. He was suffering because of his desires and wanting things to be in a certain way rather than adapting to the way it was. And that's wisdom, isn't it? The ability to peacefully adapt to the changing conditions and to the way things are. And the Buddha's also teachings on mindfulness of the body also in terms of the physical activities we do. So, using even the things we do regularly in the day, like washing, cleaning the teeth, and just bringing more awareness to these sort of simple activities. And in our life in the monastery, we're encouraged to do our things we do with mindfulness. And one of the stories I like to tell this is from the time when I was Anagarika. Before I was Anagarika in the monastery, I'd always managed to avoid cleaning toilets. When of course, home, mother did it. At university, I lived in a hall of residence, and the cleaners did it. Then I shared a flat with a couple of people, and one of others did it. And but then coming to the monastery, we have upstairs in the house, we have 3 cubicles up there. So I was given the job of cleaning the toilets. I've got to clean the toilets. That's the first reaction, And so in the monastery we do our chores before breakfast. And actually you're a little bit hungry too, not having an evening meal, but you're sort of trying to get out of the way to get to breakfast in a way, especially if it's not something that you particularly like doing. Right? So that was a sort of initial attitude. But, you sort of, through being a bit more aware, you realise it's not a nice attitude and a way to do it. It's not, it doesn't feel good doing it like that. So I started to reflect differently. And I thought, well, how can I make these toilets nice for my friends to use, my fellows in the holy life to use? In one teachings of the Buddha, in terms of the things that bring around success, Buddha taught 4 qualities. One is the desire to do something, putting effort to do that. Really focusing, putting your heart into it, you could say, and then reflect on how to do it well. So, in terms of I thought, well, how can I, the aspiration to clean the toilets, putting effort into that, to do it, physical effort, and then thinking in terms of the heart quality, I thought, reflecting like this, doing something good for the community with this sort of attitude. And then how to do it well. So I started sort of shining the taps up, putting more effort into, cleaning every little surface, shining everything up. Interesting, I began to enjoy cleaning the toilets. It changed the way it felt, by putting current attention into what one's doing. So that was a very good lesson to see how, one's attitude in what one's doing. If you're sort of doing something with your mind somewhere else, you don't get that same sort of enjoyment. If you go on your mind's on the next thing. But again, from this experience, then there was times you had to do very boring things like sweeping leaves, or and just staying with putting the current attention into cleaning the path well. And, if one just stays focused, how the boredom goes, you can actually begin to enjoy sweeping leaves. It is really interesting this is like they say, through mindfulness it leads to a sort of more concentration, or a more, say, happy mind state. To continually being mindful, even though at first it's boring, it can change. So, one of the things one learns is that you actually to enjoy simple things, enjoy ordinary activities, and that was actually for one who in his youth used to always seek excitement and stimulation on things, to find enjoyment in just ordinary things was such a wonderful thing, really. So, the mindfulness practice is not limited to just sitting in a meditation hall. The more we can bring our awareness into the present moment and what we're doing in the present moment, then this will promote a more happy way of being. Like I said before, if we're always too focused on getting something, getting the goal, then we don't enjoy the journey. Of course, also in even in monastic life too, there's times when we're more engaged with having to figure things out, meetings and reflecting on things. So how to be just keeping our thoughts on what we're thinking about. And actually, these are some of the things that we can use for mindfulness too. In the Buddha's teachings, there are this word sati comes into. There's different ways of, like contemplations of cultivating sati. Like Buddhanusati, reflecting on the qualities of the Buddha. Dhammanusati, the Dhamma. Sanghanusati. So we can actually also use contemplations, or if we have to figure out something, keeping our attention on that. So again, it's more about living in the present moment with what we're doing. But I still, appreciate the benefit of this practice of mindfulness of the body, of being more aware when I'm doing physical things, walking, standing, using nama just moments to come back into the present moment. It is interesting that, there are times when you come back to the body that you suddenly realise you're carrying this mood around. When you're sort of caught in it in time, you don't realise what's underlying the thinking. But when you come back to the present moment, suddenly you'll be aware, what am I, and then you can reflect, why am I carrying this around? Do I want to carry this around? So it brings more natural awareness to the mind state. And then maybe, by being more aware of these mind states, they don't overwhelm us. Again, staying in the present moment is the solution for these mind states. They don't. If we're in the body in the present moment, one doesn't get overwhelmed. And this is like one of the analogies that the Buddha gave about the practice of mindfulness of the body. And one of the benefits is that mind states don't penetrate. And the example the Buddha gives is like if one doesn't practice mindfulness of the body, then it's like if you throw a stone into clay, the stone sticks in the clay. The stone penetrates into the clay. But if you really cultivated mindfulness of the body, then it's like cotton wool being thrown against a wooden wall. It just bounces off. Doesn't penetrate. So this is one example the Buddha gave about the benefits of mindfulness of the body. So maybe the day presents many moments where we can cultivate this. More opportunities to practice and just, not just when we're sitting in the meditation hall. So, I'd like to offer these reflections this evening.